I'm going to do a bit of a tour around the base, and this is the boardwalk that leads from the hostel up to the former sites of the seismograph and ionoson huts. They've been taken out now, but so the ionosphere observer did this walk many times. Three huts up here: the seismograph hut, the magnetic hut, and the ionoson hut. There was also, I think, another much smaller hut, which housed the fluxgate magnetometer. The four of them have been taken out, and I've managed to locate three of them, which I'll show, but have not been able to work out where the very small fluxgate magnetometer hut was. Now, nearly at the top of Ionoson Avenue, there's the marker up there showing the way to the magnetic hut site, and off here to my left is where the seismograph hut was. All that can be seen now is the excavated site, backed by Dracophyllum, and the seismo hut was right there. It was taken out, I believe, in 1995. Go on, and there is the track down to the Clifton Memorial, which we'll have a look at, and the Geomagnetic Observatory. But just on up here was the site of the Ionoson hut that was dismantled in 1995, and that is the site. Large excavated site there. In a few years this will be completely overgrown, and no one will know there'd been a hut here. In fact, the Dracophyllum, there's the Dracophyllum there, the small Dracophyllum plants, and it won't be long before they come up. The site will be effaced. So that was the view in the days the Ionoson hut was here. That wall of Dracophyllum was kept trimmed, but the Ionoson observer had a nice view from his office down Perseverance Harbour to the heads, Mowbray over there on the left, Erebus Point right out on the skyline, and on the south side the South Point, and the ridge leading up to the summit of Mount Honey. So that's a pretty good view for an office, I reckon. Not many offices where you can look out your window and see royal and sooty albatrosses flying around. Just up past where the Ionis hut was, the track branches down to my right is the track to Lookout Bay. That's now very overgrown and muddy. That leads round to Mowbray and Lisle and to North East Harbour, and this track around here goes round North Beeman, and in fact it's now boardwalked all the way to the albatross colony. So this is the walk the tourists do when they come here. It's boardwalk the whole way, so saves damage to the vegetation, to the ground. Hundreds of people do the walk each season. So I will now return, now headed back down Ionisond Avenue, and there's a small intersection here down to the magnetic hut site, which I'll go down and have a look at, and that's the track on back to the main station. But the track to the magnetic hut sites now are getting pretty overgrown, and the Dracophyllums come right up. However, there's a small gap can be seen at the end there, and we emerge very shortly into the open. There's two sites of interest here. One is where the magnetic hut site was. The piles can still be seen there. So the hut stood at that site. Geophysics technician did his magnetic readings here. The lookout back to base, the hostel on the right, the Met office can be seen upper right, the bomb shed in the distance, and the buildings of the wharf in the distance is Philhole, and we can just see Duma, partly hidden by the Draco. Look over to Mount Honey. At this site also is the memorial to Leslie Clifton. He was here in the Coast Watch expeditions, and he made the first topographic map of the island. He was here in 1942. I think it was published in 1946, and for well over 30 years this map that he did was the standard reference. He requested that his ashes be scattered here, and this was done. Just to read the inscription: in memoriam of Leslie Clifton, killed in an aircraft accident. New Zealand, 1951. Leader of Cape Expedition, 1942. Mining engineer, surveyor. So this bloke made an enormous contribution to the island, and the work he did, as I say, was the standard for many years. I've cleared away some of the vegetation from Clifton's grave. I wasn't really meant to. I got a bit of a smack on the wrist. But anyway, we're getting this checked out with Doc HQ at the moment to see if they'll give me permission to clear away the site a bit more. When I got here, the site was completely overgrown, could hardly see the headstone, so I came up with a slasher, hacked back the vegetation and cleared the stone plinth, which had disappeared altogether. The view out from Clifton's memorial is straight down Perseverance Harbour. So here we are, back on Ionisond Avenue, on the boardwalk, back to the station. So probably about a couple of 100 metres up here. We're not allowed to trim back any of the vegetation, and as you can see, it's growing up in places. But in the days the base here was operational, we kept them sprayed herbicide along the track margins, and in fact I'm just coming up to a bit now where the vegetation's quite clearly winning the battle. So carex, polystyrchum fern, and the tussock is a Pleurophyllum cranioferum. They're winning the battle, and unless something's done, a bit of work done, a bit of spraying, a bit of cutting back, it'll ultimately disappear. This bit's clear because its bridge is out, a bit of a seepage, so it's higher above the ground here, about a metre above the ground. But just coming on a bit, the boardwalk here, you can hardly see it. It's getting completely overgrown with vegetation. And we're nearly back at base. This is our radio room. It's up in the dock annex, and that's the radio we've been using to talk to New Zealand. They're the batteries that run it, and at the moment I'm just getting a radio fax. Joe Hiscock, our dock rep, has brought down a laptop. Loaded in it is a program that allows us to receive radio faxes, MetService transmissions. So that's just coming in right now. It's the prognosis for midday tomorrow. It's a glorious day here today, so we're just hoping that the state of affairs is going to continue. So this is the Just a bit of a tour through the dock annex. That's the wall that leads down into the MetService area. This is the entry hall here. So bunk rooms on my left, WC on my right, another bunk room there. That goes down, those set of stairs take us down to the MetService area. So another WC there, and this is going back up to into the top of the dock annex. The main entrance there. They have a bit of a storeroom in here, some bit of food and various supplies, a few tools there, and we're very fortunate to have had the use of this annex because it's got the only oven. It's a diesel oven that's inside this room. This is the dock kitchen, and we've been cooking and eating down in the MetService kitchen and dining room, but when we've wanted to cook something, do something in the oven, we've used this. So that's the dock diesel oven, and we just leave it going 24 hours a day. We brought down plenty of diesel, and so at least it's one place to come to warm up. There's the firebox there, and diesel, we've just got it on very low. And the dock dining table covered with, I think the botanists have got this room up here. As you can see, the dining table just covered with samples. That's where we dry our clothes. So it's been very useful to have a warm, dry room. It's the only warm place in the base. It's the view down Perseverance Harbour. Just continuing our tour of the base. We're now at the end of Ionosphere Avenue heading south. Coming to the main base, nearly tripped over there of one of those overgrowing tussocks. This is the dock annex. It was built in 1975 by Lands and Survey, actually when the idea was to have much larger expeditions, all the think big ideas of the 1970s, and of course never came to fruition. This is up round the back of the annex and the hostel. This is one of my tasks, has been to refuel the diesel stove. There's a jerry can of diesel there ready to go into the tank. Uses about 20 litres every second day, and when we got here well, the stove kept running out because it was no one's task, and once it's run out it's got to be it's a devil to restart, so I've done it. And this is a view, the west side of the hostel, and in the distance there we can see Mr. Croasdale, our resident plumber, replacing the flue on the Marshall water heater. It's got a bit rusted out. So water comes off the roof, these tanks, and then it's pumped uphill to store tanks up here, which are hidden behind the Draco, but which we'll have a look at later. So we're now coming down to the dock, the entrance to the dock annex. Here is the lower landing and small set of steps to the upper landing, and so inside. Let's view out to the further base, down to the wharf, the powerhouse centre shot, the former powerhouse, and the bomb shed on the skyline. Well, in the distance. It's actually Full Hole Peak on the skyline. This is the end of the boardwalk. We come to the Marsden matting, now very overgrown, a bit more about that later. So, water collection tank there, the dock annex, and that up there is a diesel tank. This building here is the MetService annex that was built in about 1962-63, I think, to add a bit more accommodation. And that has centred the main hostel building as Bristol built aluminium building. There's that one there, and it's joined to the Met annex there. Now, everything becoming overgrown and a bit untidy. This was all immaculate, of course, in the days when the base was operational, but closed 15 years ago, and the plants are gradually reclaiming their territory. I'm now on the Marsden matting. It can just be seen there, but it's gradually being overgrown by vegetation. Marsden matting's about 2.5 metres wide, and they're interlocking steel strips of steel mat that were used by the Americans in the Second World War for airfields as they advanced west into the Pacific. They could be laid down very quickly, and they're great here. We could just lay them across the peat, and good for vehicle access, and means you're just not walking in the mud all the time. That's the MetService hostel, and this bit on the end was added in 1975, a video room and dining room in addition to the dining room. Now coming around to the end of the hostel building. Over there is the former food store. And that building there is the freezer chiller, big walk-in freezers and chillers in the days when we were going. The freezer on the left, the chiller on the right. This building was built in 1976. Coming round now to the main entrance of the hostel. So there, a set of steps here go up to Aurora House. We will have a look up there later. This is the main entry to the MetService hostel. Steve's been doing a bit of tidying up, a bit of painting. It was looking pretty tatty when we got here. This is the entry porch, and in here is what we used to call the convector room. We dark the generators off so there's no lights. There's some firewood there. Steve's got this Marshall water heater going, which has allowed us to have hot water for showers. Would have been very difficult otherwise. And that unit there is the former diesel-fired convector which heated the building. Alas, not going. Steve can be heard up on the roof replacing the flue for the Marshall. He is up there somewhere. Continuing our tour of the inside of the Met hostel, the view out. The honey foreshore. lounge, Shelley's workstation. Pool table. Library. Out through the door. Or the OIC's office. This corridor, long corridor, off this from all the bedrooms. Yes, my one packed set to go, and a gear over there, and bed, 2 sleeping bags, please note. It has been cold. That's the former sick bay. Linen cupboard and another bedroom, WCs in here, basins, shower over there, bedroom, another one there. So there's bedrooms going right down. There's 9 bedrooms, I think, in this part of the place. This is Steve Crowstall's bedroom. He's got his one set up quite nicely, as he did it himself in 1991, so he quite rightly claimed this room for himself when he returned this time for this expedition, and fair enough. We now go down a short passage into the Met Annex, I think built about 62, 63. The bedroom, that's Colin Merck's room, our leader, and another bedroom in there. and this flight of stairs takes us up to the dock annex where we have already been. So turn round, do a U-ey, back down into the MetService annex, into the MetService hostel, down the long corridor. We try to get people to walk up and down here quietly at night so they don't wake up those who have already gone to bed. It's been a perennial issue on every expedition, and it has been again on this one. Quick glance at my room. Out into the living area of the hostel, and out through the back door. This is the laundry. Here's Steve's set us up with a ringer. A couple of tubs. There's a little hand-turned washing machine. I find it's easier to do it by hand. Small deep freeze for Shelley's specimens, and out the back door. So here's Steve, our man from Pahoja, up on the roof fixing the flue of the Marshall hot water heater. So that presumably has got to go back in there, and pieces there. That's quite a nice pattern you've got on the top of it there.
You like that?
Yeah, it looks a bit like King Arthur's crown. I think I'll get a shot of that. It's very, I think you've done well there actually. Look at that.
A bit arty.
They could make that could have been the leader's crown. And that's
could always make them one.
Yes. We could make them one, yes. So here we are, the roof of the hostel. That'll be fascinating for viewers. And a look down the main road to the intersection.
Good view of the harbour here.
So, is it okay to walk on this roof?
Yeah, just in the trays and this.
In the tray, oh right, in the tray. So here we are going up onto the roof of the hostel. It's the stopping at the bottom. And there is a great view of the hostel. Over there to the Met Annex, sorry, the Dock Annex, magnetic site. Looking down the harbour, Perseverance Harbour to the heads, over Mount Honey, and down to the wharf buildings there. And up to the Teckering, Mount Umar, skyline. Down there are the water collection tanks off the roof, and that gets pumped up the hill to the water storage tanks. Just Steve flew back in and have a look at the water tanks. That's where we've got our generator, little portable generator in there. And Steve's made a housing for it. It's going round the back of the hostel diesel tank. We ran the convector, and out the back here. Line where we can hang out some washing. And these steps here go up to the water storage tanks, so we'll shoot up and have a look at them. Right, on our way up to the water storage tanks, the boardwalk here has become very broken. Be very careful, it's very, very slippery and all broken. But anyway, here we are, water storage tanks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tanks up here, so we can store a lot of water. And they can all be online, but normally you need 2 or 3 online. So here we go up the road, the main road of Campbell Island. Food store on the left, yeah, that'll be a hoot. You see them, wouldn't that be funny? Go sprawling down, the camera took its last shot, splat, came up. There's the Marsa matting. This is a drain here that Steve cleared. We've got to watch out for this, a trap for unwary players. And tourists. There's the Marsa matting growing over, and this in here is Steve's little kingdom, the chippy shop.
I haven't had a clean up.
So
it's a little bit of a
Here we are. Oh, well, I mean, it looks tidier than the kitchen, to tell the truth. Looks a good deal cleaner too, actually. So there's a few tools there.
I'm told if you make a mess, it means you're doing something.
Yep. This is the railway winch here, which Steve has rigged up so we can use it. Railway winch here, which Steve has rigged up so we can use it and send stuff down to the wharf. That's rubbish there, binned up, ready to go. Just separate everything out: cans, plastics, paper, kitchen waste. It's all got to go back to New Zealand. So that's the railway line down to the wharf. And on the right, a little boardwalk. I'll go down. So it's really great that Steve was able to get this going for us, because we had hundreds of kilograms of gear. Would have been very difficult indeed if we had to lug it up on our backs. So the old railway trolley had it. So Steve's rigged up one back there to get us through. So here we are coming down the boardwalk. Well, boardwalk, these are actually railway sleepers with wire netting over them. So anyway, it's been very effective. There's one of the standard lamps there, and down to the wharf. Just pause here. So that's looking back up the railway to the food store. Here's Steve sending down the wagon with some rubbish on it. This is how it worked. Oh, it's coming down at a goodly rate. And let's see, 4 fish bins of rubbish I filmed earlier at the top. There it comes. So there's So here we are at the wharf. The railway wagon just come down, and I've taken off 4 bins of rubbish. Here are all the bins of rubbish stacked up, ready to go back to New Zealand. We've got to send all the paper, plastics, tins, glass and food scraps back. Nothing's allowed to be dumped on the island. This is the former boat shed that we're in, and we sent the boat down the railway that was on it was in a cradle, a modified railway wagon set up to the boat shed. Railway. That there is the floating line for the bulk diesel. It was put in, I think, round about 1980. Before that we had to bring drums, but latterly they just pulled one of those lines out to the ship and the diesel was pumped ashore. Certainly made things much easier. So we used to bring down 400 44-gallon drums. building there was the wharf workshop, now a fuel store. The winch house for the crane. And this building here is the wharf store. So we got a bit snowed under with cargo, we could put things in there and shelter until we were able to deal with it. Let's see. Welcome to Campbell Island sign. And a warning there from MetService about all the hazardous areas in this gradually decaying base. Sad in a way to see it like this, but I knew what to expect when I came down. This is the railway sleeper road leading up from the wharf to the hydrogen shed up there and the powerhouse over there. This is where the diesel was pumped ashore. It's where the floating line was connected up, and there was a pump inside there which pumped it up to the diesel fuel tanks up the hill. So they're now walking up the wharf towards the powerhouse. There's a bit of an intersection here. You can see where the sea elephants have been wallowing. Up there goes to the hydrogen shed. So we took all the caustic and aluminium up there. That road up there goes up past the powerhouse. Dropped off there, and then it goes on to where the powerhouse was. And this road here goes up to the main intersection, the main road of Campbell Island. I've now walked up from the wharf down there. Most visitors come up that road and they walk along here to the hostel. Another way up through there to Aurora House. Yeah, I reckon it must be, Steve, yes. A cup of tea, I could live with that. Yep, sounds like a good idea. There's Steve suggesting a cup of tea, which I think would be an excellent scheme. There's only Steve and I on base here today. All the science guys are out in the field, so that's why I thought today was a good day to do this little video with everyone away, out of the way. That's the buildings coming up on my left. It's firstly the meat safe, the tool shed, the tractor shed, the soap store, the vegetable store, and the chippy shop. Food store, and it's back down to the wharf where we've already been. So just to walk back up to the intersection now, heading west. This was always called the intersection. Up there is the road to the tech building. Shows the Met Office, the radio tech, and down here this is the road back down to the wharf. Once again, this is marzen matting under this vegetation, now all but invisible. It's just incredible how fast the plants are taking over. The tussock in the middle there is Poa littorosa, one of the prime constituents of the lowland vegetation here, whereas introduced grasses, polystichum fern, dracophyllum behind it, and there is a small prosper. So in a few years this will just be completely overgrown. No one would know that this road had been here. That is the powerhouse. And then from that, diesel storage tanks. So diesel pumped ashore, floating line, and then another pump down at the wharf, pump diesel up to these tanks. I think they hold 50,000 litres each, so that's 200,000 litres. We're now in the former powerhouse, control panel there, the generators, the 3 generators, 3 panels. Generators for control from Beta Vista. HR6s, quite large generators. Sometimes we ran 2 in tandem, so plenty of power. Number 1, number 2, number 3. We've got the tractor. Stored in the powerhouse. decided to assist this tour. It's a female, really young one. We'll leave her there and continue on this tour. She's following me up the hill. I can hear her behind me. And we still have our guide here. Getting a bit close. And now we have two sea lions, that one, and there's another one roaring and barking in there. So they're a great help. So anyway, no, he sounds in a bad mood. So anyway, backing up the hill away from these beasts, she's chasing me. And oh gosh, there must be a whole conference here. The males come out, so two females and a male. And it's just another shot there of the tank farm and powerhouse just down past it, out to the harbour. This character still wants to assist things. This track now turns south, turns west, and this is where the fowl house was that we built in 1970. It's been dismantled, but there's the concrete slab. The fowl house was there. It was built by the 69-70 expedition, which was my first expedition to Campbell Island. It's the main fowl house, and this adjacent slab was a mash and wheat store. The road goes past the fowl house up to the hydrogen shed. Now back at the intersection. This little tour around the base. We've had a look down the road there to the wharf. We've had a look down the track to the fowl house that formerly was, and this one up here is the Mars and Matting Road up to the tech building. Up there was the Ionosphere Observer's office, the Met office, and the Radio Tech's office. And the main transmitters, main radios, the transmitters and receivers. Wellington radio. The transmit aerials were up until just a couple of days ago up there. So we've taken them down, water tank up the hill there, supplied water to the tech building here, and the collection tanks are there, they've been taken out. So this is the tech building, two storage water tanks. Header tank, and this is the entrance. Got just a few words there for past expedition members. The Coast Watch expeditions 1941-1945, the meteorological expeditions 1946-1995. To those who served here, erected by Meteorological Service of New Zealand Limited. I suggested the wording. And this one here in memory of George Poppleton, former OIC, and requested that we put it here by his wife. George died a few years ago. This is the main door into the tech building. Steve's got most of it boarded up with shutters. So
this is Radio Otago 4XO, 24 hours a day, 1210 kilohertz, southern New Zealand. Radio Otago, I've got an
So we can't really have a look around. The ionosphere observer is up here. Straight ahead was the Met Office. This This in here was the radiotex room, and I've been using it for my office up here. It's been quite good. It's away from the hostel. I can read, write, work in peace and quiet away from the hubbub down at base. So I've been making a plan of the base. There's a rough sketch there of the hostel, and just working on a final version here. So it's quite a good place to work. Looking out the window down towards the hostel, I can see who's coming up the road, see who's about, and I've had a great view down Perseverance Harbour. So it's very quiet. It's been my own place. The others hardly ever come up here at all, so that suited me down to the ground, as I'm a bit of a loner anyway. So the only sound to distract me is the howling of the wind and this ticking clock. So I set up to remind me that the time is passing and it's very nearly over.
On a trail that started up on November the 17th, 1921, with a shooting code 4XO.
But I've got some of my gear over there, cameras, batteries, survey equipment, gun boots. So it's been great having this place up here to get away from it all and work in peace and quiet. This is looking out the door of the Met Office or Tech Building. That's our boardwalk. It goes back down to the station. It's the powerhouse and diesel storage tanks there. And looking around over here is the hydrogen building. So this is around the east side of the Tech Building. Down here, straight ahead, right where that coprosma bush is, was the boardwalk down to the hydrogen shed. There's a boardwalk down there, now completely overgrown, can't be seen at all. There's a light standard there halfway down, and so on to the hydrogen shed where we filled and released the balloons. Another pathway, just coming back to where I am, another pathway went off here. Oops, gosh, it's difficult to walk around now, and that went off down to the flower house. This is the path around the south side of the Met Office. That's the door we came and went through mainly. This is the south door to go down to the meteorological enclosure. Pretty overgrown now. So that path leads off to the instrument enclosure. Can be seen over there with Mount Duma in the background. This is the meteorological instrument enclosure. Now just houses two AWS stations, automatic weather stations. That was the former sunshine recorder there, and inside the screen is the thermistor, the hygrometer, record temperature and relative humidity. There are the rain gauges, soil radiation recorders, and in the background the anemometer. The enclosure, walked through here many times. Of course, years ago this was all neatly mown grass. Back up. Out at the anemometer site. Gorgeous day, blue skies, fluffy clouds, and just a light Duma, Mount Honey. There's a track from the anemometer down to the hydrogen shed. I'll be pretty careful. There's been a lot of sea lions up here. This trip just a couple of days ago, there were 18 sea lions here. Proceeding carefully, they can hide in the tussocks, lunge out, get a bit of a fright. The hydrogen building is deteriorating. This is the coming round the south side, the hydrogen building, just walking round where there was a railway sleeper road. And those doors went the caustic soda on the left. Water to make hydrogen. It's coming round to the front of the building. See, it's very deteriorated. We've got it filled with wood. It's not worth going in, can't really see much. And that was the East Release store. This is where we bought most of the balloons out. So we came out that door, huge balloons, 10 feet, and there's a big release pad here, and we shot out here with the balloon in one hand, the radio sound in the other, and let them go. Just hope they didn't burst. Railway sleeper road from the hydrogen shed. That's where all the caustic soda and aluminium were brought up. It was a large quantity of it. We have a sea lion here. I don't think she's very pleased to see me. Right, go past them, past the diesel tank farm. Powerhouse, and that's getting back up to the road. I've just walked down back up to the hydrogen shed. So look back up the railway line, and this is the path back up to the hostel. Now getting very overgrown. Sad to see it in a way, but it's the way it goes, and I wasn't surprised. I knew the base was very well in its heyday, but I was mentally prepared for this. I had seen photographs and I knew what to expect. But I'd heard that some former expedition members have come back and they've been in tears when they've seen the state of the base. It was formerly so neat and tidy. An addendum here to the base tour. I left out Aurora House. This is on a bit of a rise behind the main station. It's where a lot of the geophysics experiments were run during the 60s and 70s. Rheometers, history recorders, micromagnetics, all sky cameras, that sort of thing. It's quite a nice view. It's just a bit higher up, so it's a good view down Perseverance Harbour. Over to Mount Honey. Hydrogen shed, tech building. The anemometer and Alex's nets can just be seen there. Full hole in the background, and Mount Duma. This is the boardwalk from the door of Aurora House. One goes down that way, direct to the hostel, now completely invested by Dracophyllum, and the other one goes down to the main road, about halfway between the hostel and the intersection. But as can be seen, it won't be long before it's history. Very overgrown indeed. The Dracophyllum has made the most remarkable recovery. Well, I'm not sure that it's recovered, it's just increasing its range and extent. It's one of the right standards there, hidden in the Draco just about. And down into the gloom.